Alrighty, good morning friends. Today we're going to make what I have called a half a heart purse, because this is a purse we're making. This is a 6x10 size. It looks like a half a heart to me. But today we're going to make actually the 5x7 hoop size. So this will be my first one doing in a 5x7 doing a video, and I would advise you to cut your fabrics, the exterior fabric, the interior lining, and the batting, whatever kind of batting you use, cut those 6x8. That should be plenty size enough to allow for trimming at the end. So anyhow, this is what we're making, and I think it's really cute, but that's me. That's just me. I designed it, so of course I think it's cute. So anyhow, let me put that aside, and here we have, it's hard to see. Let me turn this around and see if I can. I'm using pink thread, so gee, it's really hard to see. I have run the first step, which is just a outline of the entire bag and the space for the zipper. So anyhow, I'm going to put on, let me see, this is probably a 14-inch zipper, but it's the only zipper I have that's the right color. So let me let me do that. Let me show you here. Actually, this is what I call the runway. This area here. And center your zipper between these two lines here. And tape it well at the top, the bottom, and in the center. And that's what I'm going to do. And I will go then to the machine and have it tacked down, so I'll be back shortly. Okay, before I go, I just wanted to show you that I've taped it here at the top, center, and at the bottom, and we'll just cut off all the rest of this overage later on. But I'm going to go to the embroidery machine, and it will now tack the zipper down, so be right back. Okay, the zipper has now been tacked down, and you can see barely, like I say, it's a light pink thread, so it's hard to see, but the zipper has been tacked down. And our next step is to turn the hoop over and take one of the first lining piece we have, and take the lining piece and turn it over face down, and we're going to place it, this bottom line, we're going to place it about a 1/4 inch past this line here. So let me take, and that's probably about right. Make sure. I apologize. Here's the exterior line on this side, so we're fine on this side, and same way over here, we're fine over on this side. So let me tape that down. Alrighty, and let me just pick up the hoop and let it fall, let the piece of lining fabric fall over to the front. And let me grab a piece of tape while I have a free hand somewhat, and take this piece of lining and fold it over and tape it down. Can I do it? Yes, I think it's going to stay. I'll have to watch that. But anyhow, then the next thing we do is, and this is a little different than the way most of my bags are done, we need to put down, the next thing we need to put down is our coordinating fabric. So you see I've got fabrics here This is my main fabric, this beautiful piece of fabric. It's called Charlotte by Northcott, I believe. And then I have this coordinating piece of fabric here. So what I'm going to do is I need to take and put my coordinating fabric down first. And I'm going to just line it up with the edge of the zipper here. So, and I've actually got two pieces of this fabric because I just find that one piece of it seems like every cotton fabric I buy is solid cotton. Solid colored cotton is so cheap, it's so thin, so I always have gotten used to lately of using two pieces. So anyhow, that's just my own little thing. You can take it or leave it, and you may not have an extra piece or that. But anyhow, now I'm going to take this to the embroidery machine, and it's going to stitch a line right across here, securing both this front piece of fabric and the back piece of lining fabric. So I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, and you can see that the two pieces of fabric have been sewn down. And however, let me turn it to the back, and I always say make sure you look at the back piece, the lining piece, because right here over on this corner it's very close. So I've had it where it didn't catch on the corner, but thankfully it did just barely catch, so it'll be okay. But always check your back lining piece just to make sure. Anyhow, what we're going to do now is take one of these pieces of what I'm using as batting, which is kind of a piece of, I don't know what it is. It's not felt. I don't think it's flannel, but because it's thicker than what flannel is, but I bought it at Joann's. It was on the clearance rack. It was like $3 a yard. So I'm using it, and it does a nice job, gives the bag a little bit of substance. So just take it, and I have cut it down. I told you to cut everything for a 5x7 bag, cut it 6x8. However, this one piece that will go under the zipper here, cut it 5x8. So I chopped an inch off right here. So anyhow, that looks fine. And pull your fabric down over it, and take this, let me grab the hoop. I love these little, I'm not used to using a smaller hoop, but they're so much easier to deal with. And I'm here, of course, at the sewing machine. I'm here at the iron, and just take and thankfully this is a smaller iron because it will just fit in the hoop. And now we've got a nice crease here. And so I'm going to take it now to the embroidery machine, and the next stitching will be stitching right along here. Oh, that's hot. Right down the side, down the bottom, and back up again to meet there. And so that'll tack all of this down. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and as you can see, the stitching has occurred, and it's all held down and secured. And so the next thing that will be done is I'll take it back to the embroidery machine, and it will do the placement stitch for the main. No, I'm telling you a story. It will do, the next step will be to do the beautiful quilting. That will go right on the sides, right here in this center, and come down here. So sorry, I apologize for that. I'm getting ahead of myself again. So let me run and do the beautiful quilting, and then after that we'll have a placement stitch for the applique. So I will stop running my mouth right now since I've put my foot in it several times, and I will be back in a few minutes. Okay, I just wanted to show you before the placement line is run, the beautiful stitching along here, the sides and the top. And now I'll take it back and the placement line will be put down here, so I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and the placement stitch has been run. You can see it is right here. And I actually ran it twice so it would be visible to you. So the next step will be to take it back after we put on the main fabric. We will take it back to the machine, but let me put on the main fabric and let's see where this is going to end up. Okay. Alrighty, I think it's going to be okay right there. Look pretty good. Let me put a piece of tape over here so it doesn't move while I'm walking. Okay, so the next thing that will happen is it will tack this down, and then after that I'll have to do some trimming, but let me one step at a time. Be right back. Now I'm back and this has been, the main fabric has been tacked down, as you can see. I'm going to go sit somewhere, probably my kitchen table, and use my very sharp applique scissors, and I'm going to trim. Since we have the beautiful stitching here, we want that to show, obviously. We want this to show, so I'm going to trim starting right here and just trim all of this around on the outside, like I'm pointing with my finger. And I'll be back in a few minutes. All right, I'm back, and you can see how I've trimmed around the half heart, and I've left the bottom just as it is, just as in over here on this larger bag, so we don't want to mess with this bottom part right here. And now I'll take it back to the machine, and finally the satin stitch will be accomplished when I get back. So I'll be back in a few minutes. All right, I'm done with the satin stitching. I think it looks very nice. The next thing we'll do is remove this tape here off the lining fabric, let it fall back to the back. And let's take off these other pieces of tape. There we are. All right, fold this down nice and smooth. Okay, and it's a little long. I could cut it off. Let's take this down. All right, we'll stick this in the sewing machine and the embroidery machine, and it will tack this back piece down by running what was actually step 4, I believe, where it runs along the top here and the sides and bottom. It's the same step. I just repeat it again to take care of holding down the back lining. So let me go and do that, and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, let me turn this over so you can see that that has been stitched down. And when I turn off the camera in a minute, I'm going to cut this off a bit, maybe about where my finger is going, because it's just a little bit too long. So I'm going to remove the tape here, holding that originally held the zipper down. I'm going to try to open the zipper with my one hand. Well, I always eventually get it. Okay, and it's open about 2/3 of the way. And this is the time when I put my little holders that attach to, if you want this as a wristlet, you could just put it right here. Actually, I think that's what I'll do instead of, you could put one here and one over here on the top also for a crossbody bag, but this is pretty small, so you might want to use this as a wristlet. So let me tape that down, and you can see it's way out of the this is just a grosgrain ribbon, 3 inches long by whatever width it is, probably 5/8 of an inch or maybe 3/4 of an inch. And I'm just gonna, you can see the stitch lines will be right here, so I always use a stapler and staple the two ends together so they don't come loose. But I'm going to put a piece of tape, come on, well, there it is, there's a piece of tape there. I'll have trouble with that later, I know, getting that off, but so that's taken care of. And I'm going to take the back piece of fabric, what will be the back piece of fabric, and put it on here, cover, make sure you cover the zipper at least by 1/4 of an inch. And this looks like it'll be fine. And then take my other piece of batting and put it on there, and it looks like it'll be fine. And I'll take it back to the embroidery machine and finish this round, and I'll be back in a moment. There's only one more step, and that's the back lining, one more piece of lining on the back. Okay, I'm back, and you can see that the stitching has been done all around, and I forgot to cut off the bottom as I said I was going to, but it doesn't matter at this point. So the next thing we're going to do is take and turn it back over to the back side and take our last piece of fabric, which is the lining piece, the last piece of lining, and put it face down over the other lining piece, and making sure that we cover where the zipper line would be, which we have. And then I'm going to tape this down and take this to the embroidery machine and run the very last step, and I will be back after that. All right, that has been completed, and as you can see, it left me a nice turning area. Even though it's a small bag, it's plenty big enough to turn the bag out. And so it stitched all the way around, ending about right here and starting here and going up and around. So I'm going to take this out of the hoop. I'm going to cut about 1/4 inch from the stitch line here, and I'm going to leave this alone at the bottom. I'm not going to bother that. I'll show you what I do when I finish cutting all this other part off, but I'll be back in a moment. Alright, as you can see, I have trimmed around the 3 corners, and what I'm going to do here at the bottom where this opening is to turn, I'm going to pull back these 2 pieces of lining fabric, but all of this other stuff here is now just junk. It just needs to be trimmed and thrown away because it no longer has a purpose to serve. So I'm going to put down the phone, and I'm going to trim this off right about where my fingernail's at, just right above the where it's stitched at along through here. So just you do that if you would, and I'll meet you back here in a few minutes. Alright, that has been completed. That has been completed. And so what we're going to do now is just reach in here, and I have to put the phone down, of course. I can't do this one-handed, and turn the bag out through this hole, and then you go ahead and do that, and I'll show you what to do in a moment after that. Okay, I'm back here at the ironing board, and I have turned turn the purse out the first time. We've got one more turn to make. But what I'm going to do now is take, you see we have the two pieces of lining. I'm going to take the smaller, the shorter piece of lining and tuck it in. And that looks good right there actually. And iron it down. It's got a nice crisp crease. Then I'm going to take this longer part and I'm going to put it in like this. And well, I'll have to put the phone down to do that. And then I'm going to make sure it's tucked in nicely, and I'm going to iron it. And then I'm going to take the purse to the regular sewing machine and sew this part closed just right through here where the opening is. So I'll do those two things and meet you back here in a moment. Okay, I did what I said I was going to do. I tucked both the pieces in, and I ran a line of stitches through here, just from here to here. And so that's the bag is now closed up, but we've got to get rid of this paper towel. And just, for me, it's pretty easy, since this is paper towel. Just get it started there. And there we are. That's done. And then here's the opening. I'm going to put the phone down and turn it. Oh, I'm going to open the zipper a little bit more and then turn it out through here. And we'll see what we have. So I'll be right back. Okay, I turned the bag out and gave it a little press on both sides, and there it is. I think it looks great. Beautiful flowers, and it's just needs a little, I see a few hairs here, not hairs but threads, and so I'm going to do a little trimming there, get rid of some of these. As you know, we always have threads here and there, so I'm going to do a little trimming of that. But that's the 5x7 half a heart purse. And I hope you've enjoyed watching me make this, and I'm going to hopefully be back tomorrow with another design and another purse. And if you make this or another design, another tutorial, and if you make this, I hope you'll